Welcome everyone, it's Michael DeHaan from Care to Grow, and this is a part of our Women's Empowerment Series, women leaders around Australia using their voice and visibility. And I'm really privileged to have Kelly Van Nelson with me today. Kelly, how are you?
Good morning, I'm well, thank you. It's not so sunny Sydney today.
It is raining, yes.
It is, yeah, but I'm very well, yep.
Thank you for being on the program. And I connected with Kelly probably a month or two ago, so we were co-authors. I'll say co, there's more than two, but it sounds better. And it was really around the book of connections. And I know, Kelly, you've written a number of books yourself and you're a bestseller, so really looking forward to reading your story within that and I suppose sharing all our stories out there. So again, that was our sort of connection piece. And I just wanted to share, when I first met you, that I sort of read you, I did a bit of stalking. And it was really...
That's always good.
Yeah. So you're the managing director of Adecco. I've been dealing with Adecco in my Commonwealth Bank days for 25 years plus. I know the company really well. But it's all about that, what I found, that driving business behaviour, transformation, change, which is one of your passions. And then a bit further, I read that you're an advocate of anti-bullying initiatives, which is fantastic. We spoke a bit before this interview around your women in leadership, what you're doing there. Workplace inclusiveness, I just think that's so amazing. It's so important, and that's for future businesses, whether that be corporate or business, and that gender equity. I just think they're such valuable things that you're doing. That's obviously a passion of yours, and we'll explore that a bit in a moment. But again, it really resonated with me, some of the things you're doing. So thank you for sort of sharing that.
No, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you for talking to me.
No, pleasure. What I'd like to do is just for people to get to know you, just understand you a bit more personally, out of business, what you enjoy doing, or a bit of your history.
Yeah. I mean, I can give a 2-minute snapshot background. I was born in Newcastle upon Tyne in the UK and raised in a working class council estate by a single mum. My father died in his 40s and my mum remarried a few times, let's just say. And it was quite difficult at home. It was not the best environment. And at school, it was even worse. So in high school, I moved high schools in sort of the second year of high school. My mum moved house and I ended up the new girl in the class and was bullied relentlessly for a few years of high school by a group of girls. And I learned to deal with that in my own sort of way and built early youth resilience through just the circumstances that I was in. And I always had just some goals to get out of there, to own it myself. I never really felt the victim. I always just knew this isn't for me and I can do better than this. And I'm going to do really good things in life. And I left there. I bought a one-way ticket. I left school at 16.
Wow.
Not because I wasn't bright enough. I had a suitcase full of grade A GCSEs, but I couldn't afford uni, and didn't want to stay in the environment I was in. So I booked a one-way ticket, went to London, put myself through night school in computer studies and different business skills, got a full-time job in London and worked my way up in the corporate world from there. And I've been in the recruitment and staffing and workforce management sort of industry for more than 20 years, including heavily technology driven as well. I've worked for tech companies over the years. Built up in the corporate world through hard work, learning, being open to upskilling and leveraging different opportunities. And in the corporate world, I'm now managing director of Adecco, which is a Fortune 500, up there in the world's top companies in 60 countries. And I manage the Australian arm of the business with thousands of workers out on any given day. And a really great team across the country, across numerous branches, and a big old day job. And passion points in the corporate world, yes, it's women in leadership, it's STEM-related work, and also the youth space. The private, so that's the corporate world and the journey to get to the corporate world. I've got another side, which is as an author, and we can talk about that a little bit more in a sec, but I do write. I write, and I've always written. I've written from a young age and been a huge reader and writer. And in the last 3 or 4 years, it's really taken on more than just being a side hustle. I've had 2 #1 best-selling books out, and I've got another couple of books out this year. Yeah. And I write about social issues and contemporary, current, modern world. And I like to write about the taboo topics that people don't like to talk too much about. So I write about anti-bullying, domestic violence prevention, mental health awareness, suicide prevention and challenges, and topics that just really need more conversation to be generated. And I do it in fiction. I write fiction, I write contemporary poetry, and I am a spoken word artist as well. So I slam at the poetry slams, get on the open mic, do a lot of work in the youth space, using poetry as a vehicle to drive awareness and change in a very quirky way that resonates with youths. And I write nonfiction as well. So I do a lot of articles around, losing your imposter syndrome, hang-ups, women in leadership, and how to own your space, and just understand your self-worth and become the best version of yourself that you can be. And then one other piece is that I am a mum of 2. I've got 2 teenagers, and I have a husband who is in a fly-in, fly-out job, which means I'm part of the time a full-time mum on my own, and part of the time he's home. But yeah, but writing is the passion, and some of the work-related topics as well. And I have a little bit of a busy world.
That sounds really busy. But
it is really busy, but good busy. Like, I embrace it, and it's what I thrive on, and I just like living life to its fullest.
Well, I can feel the passion. I can feel the energy coming through. So you obviously love what you're doing, and I'll have to take some tips from you, because I'm presenting. Surf Australia are putting together a mental wellness program, and I'm presenting next Thursday, and it is to younger people, and it's really, again, getting them to have an awareness of what's going on in their own body, their own mind, and giving them some skills in a sense. And I'm more the traditional way, so I'll have to learn some skills from you in regard to that connection piece. And I can imagine you connect quite well with younger people, and I think that's a key, isn't it? Bringing them in so they listen, because you're resonating with them.
Yeah, I think so. I think my thing with youths, I always just sort of try and early in the piece of engaging with a group of youths, or an individual, as well, try and let them know that everyone is unique, and to embrace the uniqueness, and you don't have to try and become something you're not, and finding what your strengths are and passions are, and then channeling that in a good way will leave you in a good place in life. And I also try and work with them around not feeling set back with circumstances, whether it's economical circumstances, or physical setbacks, or home circumstances, to use some of the things that are challenging as a catalyst for positive change, and for driving your energy in a different way, and not feeling set back no matter what those circumstances are. You can still achieve good goals, and helping kids to set goals and find ways to take baby steps towards them that are achievable. But I do like to try and keep it real and current, and I use all kinds of some of my author work. My first book was called Graffiti Lane, and I used graffiti not as in vandalism graffiti, but graffiti as in beautiful street art that carries a message and that is expressive, and it's everywhere. And my front cover was taken in Melbourne, in Hosier Lane, in the lanes, and the youths love it. So I talk to, that always gets some conversation and resonates early. So it's just finding ways to not judge them, and not try and pigeonhole them, or set a certain way that they need to behave and be. Engage in different ways. But poetry's great for that. I don't hold back, so I do it in quite a gritty, raw.
Yeah, and I think they appreciate that. And again, that's them leaning in, and because you're doing things different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
great to have,
exactly.
yeah.
I'm trying to. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we started the interview, we talked about that you're very busy, so in your corporate career, your mum and the author side, and you shared with me that it's important to be authentic in each of those different roles. And I'd love to explore that a bit further, because it really resonated with me, not trying to be someone else, being yourself
Yeah.
in each of those roles. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think for a lot of years, until probably only a couple of years ago, I was sort of, I guess, holding back is the way I would explain it. I was holding back in certain forums. So in the corporate world, I'd never really shared in my corporate world of Adecco and business that I was writing and I was poetry slamming and I was doing all of this sort of youth community work outside of the job. So I had the corporate world, and then I had my world as a writer. That was, this writing community and all of the work I was doing there as a separate world. And then I had my home life, what was happening there, and the personal, sort of family. And I had kept them separately because I hadn't figured out myself in my whole entirety, and I wasn't sure how to blend the worlds.
Yeah.
And I was coached on it, actually. I had some coaching around your personal self, what you love, what makes you tick, and about embracing all of the different angles of yourself as one whole person, and not trying to be different people in different forums and putting on this, I guess, bravado or facade in that particular thing, and just expressing yourself in all of the things that you do in a vulnerable and authentic, genuine way. And at first it's quite unnerving, talking. So I do talk at work now and say I'm a writer, and work people have came to some of the poetry slams, and at the slams I do corporate discussions and merge them. My kids have, came into work and have came to a lot of my author events, and they're my biggest writing critique, which is great because I get youth eyes to look at my work, and they really pull no punches in telling me what they think. So I've collapsed. I explain it as I was running life in different parallel worlds. Intentionally, I had walls up between them, and I was like different people in different forums. And I collapsed them down, let myself slowly come out of my own sort of shell and sort of hang-ups, and just embrace authenticity now. And it's really well received. And it's less exhausting to, be one whole person and just talk more freely. And I don't worry too much about being judged. You're not going to tick everybody's box. But if you're authentic and genuine, and it comes from a good place, what you're doing, what you're saying, and what your intent is, I think it's a better way to live life now. And I feel much more whole and true to my own self. And it allows me to get more done as well, because I can blend the world. So I feel much more productive. Yeah, so be authentic. And I think you don't have to sort of be Superwoman or Superman. I think it's just, allowing all of your flaws and all of your cracks to be there. No one's perfect. And I was trying to be this perfect person in different worlds, and that's exhausting.
I was going to just say those exact words, that being true to yourself and being authentic is less tiring.
Yes, definitely
putting
is.
on an act. You're not trying to show up in a different way. You're just being yourself, and to have that confidence that people will judge you, people will look at you, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I just find it a much easier way to live now. And as I say, most people then, accept you for all of those parts of you.
Yeah. And we were talking before that you do a lot of work with young women. So I'd be, I suppose, interested there, because I suppose the common issues that I see anyway is that they, I suppose, don't use their voice. That sort of confidence, and I think that's a lot to do with the way they're brought up in regard to suppressing feelings and beliefs and sort of being non-confrontational. So it'd be really interesting to sort of share, I suppose, with the people that are going to watch this, what some of the work or what some of the tips that you're giving these young women.
Yeah, I mean, probably the earliest work I started doing with women was in the anti-bullying space, because I was bullied in high school by a group of girls, and I was largely, my strategy in dealing with that for a long time was to be quiet, hang my head, not speak up. And, back then that was actually the norm. It wasn't quite so widely spoken about and, publicized. And I started out talking to high school girls around ways to deal with being bullied, to try and firstly help people who were feeling that way and experiencing that, but also if there were bullies in the room, to try and coach a little bit as well around, what that does to people. And it evolved from there, and it evolved into more around the mindset piece for girls around, giving them techniques to stand up for themselves, to own their body language, and to be more confident in their space, and to find verbal ways to push back on scenarios where they were feeling compromised and feeling attacked. And I started working with young girls in high school age, typically on some of those strategies and how to navigate, bullying situations. And it just evolved from there into more as well around motivation, self-motivation, how to, use some of those challenges to really empower you in a different way to, to just be stronger and to be more resilient and to, find your willpower and find your inner strength to overcome some of those challenges and ways to deal with it, but then to also keep chasing your goals and that they are achievable no matter what your circumstances have been. And it's just grown from there. I do a heap of work now, not just with high school girls, but I do a lot of work in universities at things like career fairs and things, a lot in the corporate world, but in the mindset piece as well around how to enter the workplace as a youth and learn how to grow your career, own your development, learn and leverage opportunities, and to be confident without being too arrogant or overbearing, but to be confident in where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Yeah. And I do that with, starting with youths is a great place, because that's, that generation then, can take that forward through life. Yeah. And it's not gender specific too much anymore. I coach, or everybody and anybody in the uni space. But I do a lot of work as well on one-to-ones with youths. I'm a mentor for Share the Spark, which is where I coach youths who are in underprivileged areas or going through some challenging circumstances, who are not particularly academic. I don't have a degree, and I left school at 16, and I can resonate with kids who haven't found their academic niche. Yeah. And let them know that you can still achieve amazing things. And sometimes it's a creative passion, and flushing out what that is, and then helping them to find ways to develop their creative, expressive channels. And I do a lot of that with writing and coaching on being a writer or a poet or whatever it is. Wow. Yeah, all kinds of things. Different from the women in leadership. I do a lot of women in more senior corporate women in leadership as well. Yeah. Still love the youth space.
And it's like, to me, you've got a backstory and you own it, but you also, it lifts you, motivates you to take people that are going down that same sort of pathway, that journey, and show them a smoother way. So I'm very grateful for what you're doing in that space. So,
thank you.
Good work.
Yeah, it's quite rewarding, and hopefully it is getting out there. Actually, it's gone. I do a lot of articles now, non-fiction. I did one for Student Edge, which is a partner, and they published that to over 1 million of their students, and it picked up a few awards for Osmompreneur, Big Idea Changing the World, which is using poetry as a vehicle for raising anti-bullying strategies with youths, and cyberbullying. I do quite a bit on cyberbullying now, and I've worked in tech and know all the challenges technology brings to youths as well, and it's just grown, and I love it, and I seek out opportunities to give back to that community and hopefully make a difference there. I do enjoy it.
So you're right in the space that what you're seeing corporates, what they're sort of going through via COVID as an example, but what's in the future corporates? I go back to your inclusiveness and human-centered leadership, and that's sort of going to drive business going forward. So what's some tips, I suppose, for women that are looking at, I think, where businesses are going, where corporates are going, and be on the front foot with that, maybe start planning how to sort of be true leaders, authentic leaders in that space? I think it's coming, but...
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you go back, 5 or 10 years, leadership roles came with being able to hit your budget and coming up with your business strategy and, driving results. And that's a portion of the job generally in a leadership role in any business. You have to be profitable to be sustainable. But it's more than that needed now. Now it is about, bringing authenticity and bringing vulnerability to your workforce that you can resonate with people, lose the hierarchy. I'm not a big lover of hierarchy systems. So working on an equal, foot with your business and raising the bar for everyone and driving this high performing culture of, how do you upskill and how can you achieve more and how can you, learn more skills that are future proof so your career has got longevity. And that's actually not hard skills. Hard skills you can learn generally through a course and through some skills training. To me, it's absolutely the mindset and the attitude that is sought more than ever now with leaders, business leaders, around encompassing all of the things that businesses need. Diversity and inclusion is a huge one now. I think now more than ever, even since COVID, where women in the workplace were very hard hit with youths. And, a lot of that was because of the sectors they worked in being some of the hardest hit. But women, the hours that women work dropped substantially. There's already a pay gap. So business leaders now, it's around how do we close some of those things? How do we truly bring equality to the table? And with that actually, brings different types of perspectives from women that are much needed in the boardroom and in the work environment, in any job type. If you have, one set mind, it's not going to bring you the best results. So for me, I see business leadership not just being results driven. I see it being, able to bring different thinking and perspective and diversity, and not just talking about it and having strategies, but truly embedding that culture within the work environment will actually enrich your company and will bring results by default. So for women, I do a lot of women in leadership work around, firstly, you have to lead yourself. And that for me, that's the number one thing. If you're not leading yourself well, comfortable in your own skin, owning your flaws and trying to do something about them, and whether it's upskilling, whether it's learning, whether it's, coaching, leveraging a coach or a mentor. I've always got a coach on something that I'm working on, and trying to just keep improving yourself. I coach women on doing that, and that will put you in for the long haul. It won't just put you in for the job that you're doing right now or you're going for right now. It will help you to evolve your career and explore new places and get into new, sectors and to pivot and to embrace change in a way that is opportunistic and not frightening. Wow. And if you lead yourself and embrace that, you're in a really, really good space. And we need more of that in business. And I think leaders now know it. Good leaders are really knowing that they're bringing in diversity strategies and trying to have, good input from their women in leadership roles.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, you shared so much, and this is a women's empowerment series, and I feel empowered. So
that's good. Yeah, it's not all about women. It's
exactly. Exactly.
I love what you're doing, because it's not just a female journey. I think this is all of our journey. So I think it's amazing what you're doing in just increasing conversation. And if somebody takes one tip out of one of your your series, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So we're all in this together if it's truly about equality and a better world and a better workplace.
Yeah. And thank you again for being a part of the series. You added so much value. So again, I'm very, very grateful for your time and your sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye.